Hello, Carina. So, can you tell me what's your vision for the University of Oregon?
My vision for the University of Oregon would be that it's a community, and I really don't feel like it's a one community right now. I feel like there's a lot of little communities within a larger one, and they all have so many different great things to offer, but we never come together as one, and we never learn from all of the other communities around. I feel like there's all these different branches of things and interests that people get involved with, and some people get involved with one or more, but they never really fully see like the whole entire aspect of everything UVO has to offer. Education obviously is important, academics, grades, that's what we're here for ultimately, is to get a good education, but I feel like in and out of the classroom, you find a great education in both those places. You grow, like the culture of the university, a university being in college, is something that's really unique and different from anything. I really want to try and make sure that all the different programs and all the different groups of people on campus, like, we have Greek life, we have club sports, we have the student unions, we have ASUL, like they're all their own culture, they're all their own thing, but we rarely come together as one. We rarely ever work together for things or learn about each other just because they're so different. It's such a busy thing and there's not much time. I would really like to have an executive staff that is involved with all of these different things and can accurately advocate for different people and different programs, and that's something that I don't feel like's been happening. But at the same time, like, make sure that the people who are running student government, who are in charge of this money, really understand the basic structure of how this money should be spent, and make sure that you look at the long-term picture of the budgets for the entire year, for the next year, and the entire year in front of you, and don't spend irresponsibly, and don't make promises for things that we don't have money for. I mean, if students really want things like the 24-hour night library, then of course we'll advocate for that, and we'll work for it, and we'll work to get administration to pay for it. The 24-hour night library was something that students felt was absolutely necessary. Of course we would want it. But I feel like students don't always understand that you have to give up some services for others when there's a budget crunch like there is now, and simply there's not always enough money. And the relationship with the administration can definitely be better, and I would love to see that happen so that funding for things won't always be on the backs of students, but at the same time, students won't collectively come together to have these conversations and discussions and fully understand everything with budgets and everything with services and programs that are important to other students and why they are important. I think I'm kind of ranting now.
Okay, well, what kind of changes would you see in spending? I mean, do you have any ideas, projects?
Well, for spending, we really want to work on making sure that programs are able to self-sustain or have some sort of plan to do that. There's the Oregon Business Energy Tax Credit, which we worked with this year to help fund the LTD late night services next year. The LTD bus contracts went up a really great amount, and so the Athletics and Contracts Finance Committee had a hard time coming in with their cap because I think the LTD budget off the top was 888,000, and then it was an extra 121,000 for the late night bus services, and that's something we funded out of the Oregon Business Energy Tax Credit, which was just a band-aid. That was a one-year thing because we don't know if we're going to get that again. But something we'd really like to do was work with programs on developing, or work with programs who are eligible for the tax credit to apply for it, because that money can help, like, boost a bigger plan for how to keep building revenue permanently and institutionalize the programs. Things like the bike loan program, we funded that this year for a one-time thing, and we really would like to see that institutionalized, and we'd really like to see that be able to grow even more than it already has, because that's a really important service, especially with LTE things going up in cost, with our assault prevention shuttle and our drunk driver shuttle, our designated driver shuttle. Probably one that's just a designated driver shuttle, having to really cut down on their membership because we don't have money to give them the full amount for more vans, more drivers, more hours in the night. We just don't have that money. Parking, like, just transportation in
Do you
general.
plan on getting the money? I mean,
Well, what I'm talking about for the bike loan program, it's like this. I feel like this is going to be a really good solution, and one way we could do that is work with them on developing a plan for maybe like having a $5 fee every term, because I think they jumped from like 50 bikes to 200 bikes, and 200 times 5 is about $1,000. So if you had that $5 fee, there's $1,000 for fixing things up and maybe getting some new bikes and things like that, that they wouldn't have to rely on the incidental fee.
so I'm very interested in these ideas of these different communities on campus. How do you plan on perhaps tying them together, uniting them, make change?
Well, this year for the spring this year for the spring street fair, there was a committee that was supposed to be made up of people from the student unions, Greek life, ASUO. This would have been a project that we would have all had to work together on. I don't think it's about sending out emails or making calendars, which are good ideas, updating the website, that's just a basic thing, but it's about literally people going and making, like, about building relationships with people. It's about people actually physically talking to each other, working with each other, realizing that everyone is a person and we have very similar things that we're all about. We just don't ever cross those lines to really realize that. I would really love for people in the ASUO to like, to maybe not mandate, but maybe have people from different positions like senators, exec staff, controllers, just everybody go to union events, go to Greek life events, go watch club sports, go do all of these things that we wouldn't normally do unless it was kind of suggested to us. I mean, literally go and see what's the importance of this programming, what's the importance of these communities, what are they about, what can we be about together? Because a lot of times we forget that there's so many things that we could be working on together and doing together because we're about the same things. We just really never cross those lines.
Do you also think that maybe it's worthwhile reaching out to faculty and staff?
Oh, of course. I think for faculty and staff, I think it's really important that we understand that, yeah, there are professors, there are teachers, there are GTS, there, are accountants in the ASUO, but they're really great people, and so are we. And just because we're students doesn't mean we don't have things to offer sometimes too. And this is another thing where I feel like different communities have different things to offer. And we can really be helped by every single person if we gave them the chance to teach us. And a lot of it might not be consciously, but when you have relationships with people, it's always give and take. It's not one or the other, and that's something we need to understand. Faculty and staff could have so much influence on things, especially working with academic senators, working with students in those specific majors to really, develop programming, develop student committees for those specific schools. Like, I feel like faculty and staff hold a lot of power. That's one aspect that the ASU has always been. We'll build better relationships with different communities on campus. We'll build better relationships with administration. But we never really talk about faculty and staff because it's such a different, overlooked place that we never go. And a lot of times, teachers, they don't always have the answer for everything either. And a lot of I can't talk about NASU. Well, I guess I can.
Well, okay, go on.
But a lot of my teachers, have had a hard. They've admitted to me there's a lot of areas that they're not experts on, and they would rather that a student who is an expert on that help them with that information, and that experience. And that's where I feel like outside of the classroom, a lot of these different places can be really beneficial inside as well. And that's including faculty and staff. And like that's for the faculty and staff helping us, that would be forming those student committees, forming those like internal, this is how the school works, this is the programming, these are the grading options, and having a better relationship, not just with your academic advisors or counselors, but really with your teachers. And I know that people enforce that, like you need to get to know your teachers, but that's something that it's kind of hard to do, especially like a 200-person lecture class. But if you sat on a committee with students, faculty members all throughout the year, it'd be a lot easier to understand these people and be able to be,
Are you just talking about committees? It seems to me like you're also describing maybe envisioning situations where people could listen to each other on maybe a person-to-person basis, like in from these different communities.
Well, that's exactly what these academic committees would be. Is it would be a committee inside of the journalism school, and what could happen is there could be 10 student representatives, 10 faculty representatives. They'd meet once every other week or something like that, and those students, we would make the journalism school know who those students were. And of course, that academic senator would sit on that committee with them, and they'd be the representative of the Senate. This would not only help students by having those 10 people to be able to go to them and be like, you know what, this journalism class didn't work for me because of all these reasons. Can you please bring this up to the faculty? Can you please bring this up to Senate? Bam, there's a connection right there. That's so much more outreaching that could be done that one person simply cannot do for all of the schools under their seat. And this is the kind of committee that I don't foresee, like, doing budgets or doing spending caps. This is a committee for students. Like, it's literally a committee to advocate for students where faculty will also be part of these conversations.